For my 50th birthday, my family kept saying, "Just wait, something big is coming." Every time I asked my wife, she'd smile and say, "Be patient." On the actual day, I came home to a quiet, empty house. No note, no call. Hours later, I saw a photo on social media. My wife, kids, in-laws, all at a beach resort. My son had captioned it, "He won't even notice we gone LOL." I didn't call, didn't comment, just stared. 3 days later, my WhatsApp was full of 47 desperate messages. At 3:27 a.m., I'm sitting in my empty house, scrolling through vacation photos of my family. A vacation I wasn't invited to. On my 50th birthday. After 25 years of marriage and 2 kids I thought I raised right. This is what it all came down to. Forgotten. Or worse, deliberately left behind. Let me rewind. This mess started around 2 months ago. My wife, Willow, started acting off. Not in a bad way, just secretive. Whispering on calls, shutting her laptop when I walked into the room. My daughter Piper, who's 20, kept giving me these sly smiles and saying things like, "Dad, you're gonna love what's coming for the Big 5 nuo." Even my son Thomas, 23, who usually acts too cool for this stuff, was dropping hints. I'll admit, I got excited. 50's a big deal, right? I wasn't expecting anything expensive. We're not that kind of family. We're comfortable, sure, but most of our money goes to Piper's college tuition. I even gave Thomas $4,000 last month for his apartment down payment. Didn't really have it to spare, but that's what dads do. All the secretive talk had me convinced. Maybe they were throwing me a surprise party. Willow kept saying to be patient whenever I tried to get details. Even her dad, Otis, randomly called me last week just to ask what day I took off for my birthday. Weird, since he never calls unless something at his house is broken. I told him I took Tuesday off, my actual birthday, except I didn't get the day off. At 6:15 a.m., my boss called about an emergency at the Riverside project. Someone had to be there, and I'm always that someone. I called Willow on the way to let her know I'd be late, but home for dinner. She just said, "That works out fine," and hung up. I spent my birthday dealing with a water main break and busted equipment. No one at work knew it was my birthday. I didn't mention it, just not my style. I was really looking forward to getting home. I even picked up a bottle of the good whiskey. At 5:53 p.m., I pulled into the driveway. No extra cars, no decorations, no surprise party. The house was dark. Strange, but maybe they were hiding. I walked in, empty. No decorations, no cake, no wife, no kids, no note. Checked my phone, nothing. Called Willow, voicemail. Thomas, same. Texted Piper, no reply. By 7:30, I was at the kitchen table staring at the unopened whiskey, thinking maybe something happened. Called the hospital. Nothing. Called Willow's sister, Lindsay. No answer. At 8:14 p.m., I gave up and opened the whiskey. Then I checked. Instagram. I don't post much, just follow the kids. And there it was. A post from 3 hours earlier. My whole family, Willow, Thomas, Piper, Otis, Kinsley, and Lindsay, all at a beach resort, drinks in hand, smiling. Thomas's caption, "Family vacation mode activated. He won't even notice we gone LOL. He won't even notice." The comments were worse. Willow replied with a laughing emoji and, "So true." Lindsay added something about workaholic husbands not appreciating the finer things. Piper hadn't commented, but she was there, shades on, having the time of her life. I don't know how long I just sat there scrolling. Group dinners, jet skis, pool selfies, all geotagged, starting 2 days earlier. This wasn't last minute. This was planned. Planned without me, around me, despite my birthday. Funny how for years I felt guilty about working too much, missing events, being tired on weekends, all to provide. Piper's college fund I've put $500 into every month since she was born. Thomas's down payment meant I couldn't replace my 10-year-old truck, the mortgage I've never missed, the vacations we couldn't take because someone always needed something else. And now this. I didn't cry. I'm not a crier, but I felt that pressure behind my eyes. Not sadness. Anger. I poured another drink and started thinking. First, I checked our bank accounts. Sure enough, $4,000 was withdrawn from our joint savings the Friday before. The same amount I gave Thomas. Coincidence? Doubt it. I scrolled back. Through Otis's old posts, he'd been talking about a family trip for weeks. By midnight, I was over being hurt. I was cold, calculated. I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Screenshots, bank statements, a timeline of lies. See, people forget that the quiet, dependable guy notices things. And when we've had enough, we remember everything. I laid out 25 years of marriage in Excel spreadsheets. Who paid what? Who sacrificed what? The numbers told a story they wouldn't. Like, at 2 a.m., I found something else, one of Willow's credit card statements in her email. We used to share passwords, a card I didn't know about, $113,000 in debt built up over 3 years, designer clothes, spa days, expensive lunches with Lindsay, and nearly $6,000 in recent charges from the resort. I felt that familiar tightness in my chest again. Morning came, still no birthday wishes, no calls, just more vacation photos. Tomas doing karaoke with Otis. Caption: Dad would hate this LOL. I showered, went to work, came home, checked social media again. Day 2 of their vacation. Willow posted, "Heaven. So nice to get away from real life for a while." Real life. That's me. What she needed to escape. I poured another whiskey and made some decisions. At 9 a.m. on day 2, I called my bank and rerouted my paycheck into a new account. Then I called my friend Cody, who went through a divorce last year, and asked for his lawyer's info. After that, I started moving Willow's things into the guest room. I wasn't being rash. I was being thorough. Like when you find termites in your foundation, you don't patch it up. You dig deep, assess the damage, and decide if it's worth saving. On day 3 of their vacation, day 2 after my birthday, I finally got a text from Piper. Just, casual, "Hey, Dad, how's it going?" Like nothing was wrong. Like I wasn't sitting here alone. I didn't respond. An hour later, Thomas texted asking if I could check if his laptop charger was in his old room. Still nothing about my birthday. I didn't reply. In like he was going to say something wise or fatherly, but I shut that down fast. I told them all, calmly and clearly, that I wasn't locking them out. I was asking for space. Real space. Time to think. I said I needed to process what it meant that they could go on a luxury beach vacation on my milestone birthday, lie about it, laugh about it publicly, and only worry once I went quiet. I told them I'd made financial adjustments and that from now on my money was mine until I figured out what came next. Willow started protesting, saying they'd made a mistake, that it was supposed to be a break for all of them before doing something big when they returned. I asked her if $6,000 in resort charges and $113,000 in hidden credit card debt were also part of the surprise. She went quiet. I asked Thomas why he thought it was funny to post what he did, and he mumbled something about not thinking it would matter. I said it did. That words matter, actions matter, and so does being left out of your own life. Piper tried again, teary and apologetic, saying she'd felt weird about it the whole time. I nodded and said I believed she was the only one who might have hesitated, but that hesitation still ended with her in the photos, drinking cocktails. Finally, I told them all I wasn't making any final decisions yet, but I needed time, real accountability, and for once, them to listen without expecting me to immediately make it right. I closed the door, gently but firmly, and locked it behind me. That evening, I sat alone again, but this time, It wasn't the same kind of alone. It was a quiet I chose, a quiet I earned. And I poured myself one last glass of whiskey, not out of sadness, but as a toast to clarity. Happy belated birthday to me, he'd set aside for any of his grandchildren's futures. The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. He shifted, muttered something about how that wasn't his responsibility. I agreed. It wasn't. But neither was taking my family on a luxury vacation and trying to play hero with my wife and kids while undermining me in my own home. That's when I walked over to the keypad and changed the door code again, right in front of him. Told him that from now on, no one who disrespects me walks into my house uninvited. He tried to save face, said he'd go, but not before telling Willow she should think about what kind of life she wanted. She didn't respond, just stared at her coffee mug like it held all the answers. Since then, Otis hasn't come back. Kinsley sent an email 2 days later saying they understood emotions were high and hoped we could all move forward with grace. I didn't reply. There's nothing graceful about betrayal. Right now, the house is quiet. Tomas is gone, maybe crashing with friends. Piper is here but keeps to herself, too. Willow walks around like a ghost, avoiding eye contact, avoiding conversation. I've started sleeping better. I've been reading again. I took the old camping gear out of the garage and started planning a solo trip. Nothing fancy, just me, a tent, and a lake somewhere quiet. The thing about hitting rock bottom in a relationship is that you finally see the foundation. And mine? It's solid. I built this life. I provided. I stayed loyal. I didn't walk away. I got forgotten. But now I remember who I am, and I won't let anyone forget it again. When I asked him if he'd ever contributed a cent to Piper's college fund, his face turned red. He started stammering that it wasn't the point, that he'd given Willow and the kids opportunities. In other ways? Yeah, opportunities like showing them it's okay to exclude the one person who pays their bills. Opportunities like teaching them loyalty and respect matter less than fancy resorts and cocktail sunsets. I told him he had 30 seconds to leave before I called the police for trespassing. He left at 6:27 p.m. Haven't heard from him directly since. Willow completely lost it afterward. Called me cruel for speaking to her father like that. Said I was just jealous. That I was mad because I couldn't give them the kind of life he could. And you know what? There's a sliver of truth there. I've never had Otis's money and never will. But I've had Otis's time. 25 years of it. Years I spent working to provide for all of us while he got to enjoy early retirement off inherited wealth. By the end of that first week, the lines were clear. Willow moved in with Lindsay for a while. Thomas stopped answering my texts altogether. Piper came around more often, mostly when Willow wasn't home. Our family split into sides. Willow's siblings and parents circled the wagons, posting vague social media updates about standing with family through difficult times. My sister, who lives 3 states away, sent me a care package with a bottle of whiskey and a note. That said, I always thought Willow was kind of a princess. Then the money problems hit. 10 days after they got back from the trip, Willow called me in a panic. Her credit card got declined at some boutique. I'd removed her from all my accounts. She accused me of punishing her by withholding money. I explained it slowly, like to a child. I wasn't withholding anything. I was just separating our finances. Her income was still hers. Mine was mine. The joint account had exactly 3 months' worth of mortgage and utility payments. After that, we'd either renegotiate everything or move on separately. That's when she started crying. Real tears this time, not about the marriage or me or the family, but about money. At 11:43 p.m. that same night, I got a 4-word text from Otis. Let's discuss a settlement. I didn't answer. There was nothing to settle, not yet. No divorce filed, no lawyers involved, just a family in free fall, finally waking up to reality after pretending for years they could float above it on my paycheck. 2 weeks into this new normal, something unexpected happened. Thomas showed up at 8:30 on a Tuesday morning, looking wrecked, unshowered, red-eyed, clearly running on no sleep. He wasn't there to apologize. He'd just finally done the math. His new apartment, the one I helped fund, cost more than he thought. The bills, the groceries, the internet, the little things that always just appeared at home were now very real and very expensive. He'd already blown through his savings. The vacation had cost more than he'd planned, too. He'd put excursions and drinks on his credit card, figuring he'd handle it later. Well, later had arrived. A small, hurt part of me wanted to tell him this was a life lesson and send him packing. But the dad in me couldn't do that. So I made him breakfast. I taught him how to build a basic budget spreadsheet. I showed him what things actually cost in the real world, the one I'd been quietly managing while he joked about me being a boomer online. By lunchtime, he looked stunned. Not just by the numbers, but by finally seeing what I really did for this family. He didn't say sorry, not directly, but he did something that mattered more. He deleted all his social media apps right there at the table, said he needed to get his head straight, asked if we could do adulting lessons every Sunday. I said yes. Willow, though, she's been different. Once the shock wore off, she kicked into damage control, started calling our friends to explain what happened, posted a long, vague Facebook update about healing from unexpected life changes, like I'd just had a mental breakdown. Lindsay's been running her mouth nonstop, telling anyone who'll listen that I'm having a midlife crisis, that I'm being financially abusive for cutting off Willow's access to money, that the vacation was supposed to be a gift for me. I haven't responded. The people who really know me saw through it. The rest? Not worth my time. Piper's stuck in the middle. She feels bad for going on the trip. Bad for still wanting to talk to me. Bad for being angry at her mom. Just a whole lot of guilt. I've tried to make it clear she doesn't have to choose sides. I'm her dad, no matter what. Her college tuition is still covered, directly through the school now, not through the black hole of our joint account. 3 weeks in, Willow came by to talk. Really talk. She sat at the kitchen counter where we'd had breakfast together for 20 years. Asked me if I was really going through with this. If I was really willing to throw away 25 years over one mistake. I pulled out my phone and showed her the 47 messages again. Asked her to point to the one that acknowledged my birthday. The one that apologized. The one that showed actual concern instead of just fear about being found out. She couldn't find a single one. Then I asked her the question that's haunted me the most. When did I become someone you could write off? When did I become so invisible that you assumed I wouldn't notice or wouldn't care? What she said next hit hard. She told me it wasn't sudden. That for years, maybe a decade, she'd felt like we were living parallel lives. That she tried to reach out, but I was always working, always tired. That eventually, she just stopped trying and built a life that didn't require me to be part of it. And you know what? There's truth in that. I have missed things. I have worked too much. I've been tired. But I also showed up in the ways I could. I coached Thomas's Little League. I helped Piper with science fairs. I fixed the roof, mowed the lawn, kept the cars running. I was there, even if it didn't always look like how she wanted. We talked for 4 hours. Hard, raw, real talk about expectations, disappointments, and the slow drift that happens when two people stop seeing each other. At midnight, she asked if there was a chance, if I could forgive her for the trip, the secret credit card, the years of little betrayals that led to the big one. I told her maybe. That forgiveness might be possible, but forgetting wasn't. That broken trust leaves scars, even when it heals. The next day, she moved the rest of her stuff to Lindsay's. Said she needed space to figure out who she was without me, whatever that means. It's been a month now since my 50th birthday. A month since I came home to an empty house and realized just how invisible I'd become to the people I thought were everything. Some days I'm angry, some days I'm just exhausted. But most days, I've found a strange peace in finally being visible to myself. I've started swimming at the local community center. I go to happy hours now and then with coworkers. I even joined a hiking group. Tomas comes over every Sunday. We cook, talk about bills, about life. Piper splits her time between here and Lindsay's doing her best. Willow texts me every day, sometimes about bills, sometimes about old memories. I respond to the bills. I leave the rest on read. Yesterday, I got a letter from a divorce attorney, her side. It was basic, not aggressive. Fair, actually. That surprised me. I finally changed my Facebook status from married to it's complicated. Because it is. Life is complicated. Families are complicated. Love, betrayal, forgiveness, none of it is simple. But this much I know. I'm not invisible anymore. Not to them, not to my friends, and most importantly, not to myself. And that visibility? That was worth more than any beach vacation I never got.